Thank you, Marina, for the enlightening speech. It's interesting to know a bit briefly, of course, compared to what CIS has been going on for years with this kind of legal challenges. Our next speaker, Dr. Isham Pawan Ahmad, is actually a professor, associate professor from International Islamic University, Malaysia. He seems to be a student of Professor Fazlur Rahman, which is also a very enlightening point. Has done a PhD from University of Edinburgh. Today has joined our panel to discuss is reason a threat to faith and society. Welcome, Professor Isham.
Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon. I'm not too sure how I'm going to fit in actually. I actually decided to actually talk about the actual topic that you gave me, change it a little bit. And since I've not had a book ban or been banned before, so I'll have to stick to this. This is probably the largest audience I've got for. I teach philosophy class, and this is probably the largest audience I've ever got. So I changed the topic a little bit to is irrationality a threat to faith in society rather than reason or rationality as a threat to faith in society. The argument is I believe because it's absurd. So let's see. Before we start that, since we discussed the idea that all this argument against reason or against let me start this way. Let me bring you back in time. Somewhat. After all, it's a Sunday. You probably fall asleep halfway. But let's assume there was a man who actually, there was a time when a man came to his people, brought ideas, and they were foreign and disruptive to their culture and to their lifestyle. He railed against the feudal system. Instead, he proposed an egalitarian system where all men are brothers. He railed against the socio-economic injustice perpetrated by the powerful on the weak and the poor. He argued that all men will be held accountable for their actions. Thus, the argument was you must make up your own mind and choose your own actions and be responsible for it. His society, of course, rebelled, like we have today. They tried to silence him. The powerful used repressive means, banning again. Used the laws against him to silence him, arguing that this will cause chaos. That was why you banned the book, right? Chaos again? Or is it the riots? So it will cause riots in society, threaten our way of life. We must preserve unity and our tradition and ultimately our privilege. Had they been successful, you all wouldn't have been Muslims today. The Prophet was actually, in a way, a rebel who tried to change society and actually did. So, second, actually, since you are all, most of you are Shafi'is in here, I mean, the Muslims here are Shafi'is in Malaysia. Shafi actually rebelled against his own teacher. Had Jakim been there, they would have stopped him, right? And so you all would have been Malikis, you know. So, it seems that, people don't remember their history and don't realize that if you had stopped all these ideas, you wouldn't be what you are today. So I stand here today not so much for my right to speak, actually. I think it's your right to listen to different ideas and that you decide. Since the Quran holds you accountable for the decisions that you make. But in order to make an informed decision, you must be able to listen to all the debates from all the different sides. How can we hold you accountable when we censor what you can think and then tell you what you're wrong for thinking this way? So as the Quran had argued, it goes back to the argument, man shall be accountable for their actions, but they can only be accountable for their actions if they are ever given the right choices or information to choose from. So this argument, the Quran makes a very strong arguments against censorship. So as I said, it's not our privilege to say we have the right to speak. But I actually want to expand the argument that you have actually a right to listen to different ideas. That this is not only an insult, but it limits your options. So Islam is a religion that rejects the idea of authority. We actually reject the concept of imam. I don't know, people talk so much in Malaysia against Shia and against the idea of imam, but they seem to insist the idea of authority, which is actually the idea of imam. So, which embraced, but instead embraces the authority of ideas. When the Prophet gave an opinion, his companions would ask him if this was revelation or if it was his opinion. If it was his opinion, then they say, we can discuss it. It's not a problem. You are just one of us. Right? But if it was his opinion, we can discuss it. For example, in the Battle of Uhud, the majority overruled the opinion of the Prophet. They wanted to actually go out, the Prophet wanted to fight indoors, they wanted to fight outside the city. And the Prophet followed the majority. Thus, the practice of shura, or mutual consultation, is actually a backbone of the religion itself. You must, in order to have mutual consultation, you must have an informed public, not the other way around. Thus, Islam respects individuals' human dignity, bestowed by God on man, and thus the basis for all human rights, actually. However, today we are again confronted with privilege and status quo trying to silence different opinions, debate, and discussion. We are confronted with the same arguments. It will bring chaos. It will bring disunity. We must toe the official line. We must stop discussing different ideas. We must unite under the idea of authority. But again, as I said, had this idea of authority existed, Islam would never have actually arisen, because the Prophet fought against the authority. Right, so Imam Shafi'i, as I said, was a student of the great Imam Malik. He differed greatly from his teacher and actually started a new school. Totally against, if you look at the principles of Shafi'i fiqh, it's actually very different and contradictory to Maliki fiqh. So would he have been able to do that today? Under following Malaysian law? Would he actually be able to establish a school different from his teacher? I don't think so. Since you have such an official line, you might have actually great problems. He probably would have a book ban, I think. So what we have here is a manufacturing consent. I want to argue, if you look at, I want to see the argument for irrationality being introduced into religion rather than rationality. So, here goes. Sorry. Where did you get the video? Sorry. This one? This one. Okay. I'm sure you're all familiar with this one, right? If you had given to this to Trump, he might actually use it against Kim Jong-un, so it might work. Who knows? We no need to pay for the shield, and it all uses Quranic verses. Now, you may seem that this is one of the absurd, one of the loonies, but well, think again. Let me go back. Okay. Of course, you're also familiar with trying to find MH370, which still hasn't been found, so that's another one. But let's go back to the... Okay, thanks. All right. So we have deniers of the case. So there's no ultra-conservative Islamic organization in Malaysia. USM professor, I don't know what the hell his name is, but I'm not. Well, I've actually never heard of him. But the argument he uses, he cautions that this is overreacting. Even the case of Zamihan, he says it's an overreacting. So I mean, even as they said, even Hitler actually liked his dog. So he had certain good things also. So, but. He didn't like certain other people, but well. So, sorry. Well, I actually had a couple of other videos, not videos, but you actually find that in one case, university, if you're familiar with the University of Malaysia, Pahang, actually came out with a hysteria kit against anti-hysteria kit against for people being possessed. They actually sold it for 9,000 ringgit, so it was doing actually quite well. So, I mean, the rector of the university could actually publicize this and think this was a way to promote Islam. So what have we come up to? That's the question. So this idea of manufacturing consent, I totally agree with Marina. The whole issue has to do with power, not with religion. Thank you very much.